I don't know how it ended up, but it was shortly after that I had like a taxi cab that I got from some guy. I had spray painted part
No
of it.
way.
Yeah, spray painted part of this. So it was like an orange and with black flat spray paint.
Like an actual taxi cab.
Dude, and I'm like driving all over West Los Angeles to
like a yellow?
yeah, yellow one, bro. I spray painted ratchet cab on the roof.
Ah, that's great.
And we were like going around peeling all the stores from everything. We'd go into like Bloomingdale's with backpacks and just load up stuff.
You know you're getting locked up. You know you're a good human. You've just been in bondage to the addiction, and it drives you to do things you don't want to do. There's always going to be a lesson to learn, even if there's no blessing. Now I just want to help and give back, be a part of the solution as opposed to the problem. I'm going to interview professionals. I'm an ex-convict. It's a play on words. Let's have fun with this. This is the Pros and Cons podcast.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Pros and Cons podcast, episode number 8, the final one for 2024, with a friend, a mentor, a brother, someone with a very similar story who I respect and have a lot of love and admiration for, Anthony Autry. Did I say that correct?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Otherwise known as @UnchainedFit on Insta. We'll get to that. Anthony, thank you for driving up from Deep Dago. What did you have for breakfast today? That's when we were talking about that.
Well, you know, so I smacked back. This protein shake's getting super serious. I have in the morning time, like when I first wake up, got to get some protein in me. But I got protein in there. I got some superfood greens in there. I've got some collagen peptides in there now. I've got cream of rice in there. So it's a real serious drink.
I was say that's why your skin looks so vibrant. That collagen. How old are you?
Yeah. 42.
Woo, it's young.
42 May, so I'm 42 and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you it's funny, you count them when you're a kid and then you count them when you get older too. You're like, dang, dude. I was laying in bed this morning going, I'm 46, and dude, in April I'll be 47, and dude, time flies. So you have the shake, but when's your first solid food intake?
Yeah.
Just being a fit guy and having that routine.
Absolutely. So it's been I had been cutting recently. I was cutting about a month ago. I had cut for a few months, and so breakfast, a staple for me usually is still like 2 whole cups of egg whites, a couple pieces of Dave's Killer thin sliced bread.
Nice.
And then I'll throw like some Bragg's liquid aminos, the coconut one.
Yeah.
No soy.
Yeah.
And that, and then I'll do like some Cholula sauce. So it's pretty low in fat, pretty high in protein. Now that I've kind of reversed my diet and I'm gaining now, I've upped it. So I had for breakfast, I had, I think it was like 6 ounces of chicken breast and a cup of white rice. So
there you go, dude.
Yeah.
You got to feed that machine, dude. I mean, if you're into your body as you are in bodybuilding, you know, making sure that the micros and macros and, you know, your caloric expenditure is matching up with energy expenditure, and especially if you're in a hypertrophy phase, like, you know.
Absolutely. Game changer. Yeah, knowing the numbers, knowing the data has been the biggest game changer for myself. I actually came across the importance of it while I was in federal prison and was like, let's run it, man. So I got like the math equations, the formulas to come up with like my BMR to find out, you know, my resting body rate, how many calories it burns, basal metabolic rate. Came up with that number, ran my macros in federal prison because it had always been a goal of me. I wanted to see my abs. I've always wanted to see my abs, never seen them. And so I was at like 18% body fat. And so I started running, put myself at a calorie deficit, and started chopping away. And sure enough, I got all the way down under 10% body fat, running my macros longhand in federal prison. I was able to get like the nutritional breakdown of all the food that they would serve in the chow hall. It took me like 2 or 3 months to acquire that, but finally got that. So I was able to, you know, get all that breakdown, and it was sweet, man. It was actually one of the first real kind of like small achievable goals that I'd actually obtained in my life, which was pretty awesome.
Nice, dude.
And it was pivotal, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think fitness for a lot of us, especially from incarceration, is a release. It's those brief moments when whatever you're doing, it could be your umpteenth burpee and you're grinding, dude, or you're just doing push-ups, stuff that you can do, water bags, maybe you can sneak in. There's some like odd like handmade weight or whatever the case may be, whether you're working in the kitchen or in some like vocational job.
Yeah.
You realize that those moments take you out of incarceration. You're just thinking about the workout. And for me, a lot like you, is not only being a spaz ADD kid, but I was like, oh, this is fun. Oh, and I started feeling a change because I was already an active kid, you know, and even growing up into my late teens, and then caught my first term in my early 20s. And I was just like 4 or 5 days or something after my 22nd birthday. But anyways, I remember like fast forward going from county, finally turned over to the state to start my prison time, and got into it. Long story short, a dude had a magazine that had an ad for the ISSA, International Sports Sciences Association. So I'll become a trainer, and has all these charts. And I was like, dude, I can talk to people, and this fitness thing's cool. So maybe it's something I can do. And again, it was God knowing the plan, not me. Like the silver linings of blessings in disguise. Because now look at both of us. We're enriching other people's life because God gave us fitness while we were incarcerated. So not only having it be that release and feeling good about yourself, but again, I've used this one a million times. Fitness is just a vehicle we all get into together to achieve so much more than looking good in the mirror. That's just a great byproduct of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's universal for everybody. You know, everybody can use fitness. Everybody should, you know.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100% on everything you touched on. You know, it was so much of the time, if not pretty much all the time, except for certain points in time where, you know, there were certain things that happened while I was incarcerated. But for the most part, I was free as a bird, man. You know, it was just all mental state of mind, you know, and I'd get lost in my workouts. And, you know, it was just learned so much just about myself. You know, I believe if people take the opportunity to really self-reflect, there's so much growth that can be made in short periods of time or long periods of time, depending on how long you're locked up for. But, you know, in just a year or two worth of time, you know, somebody can grow a lifetime and their whole life can change. I know it did for myself.
Yeah. Amen to that, dude. Well, it's time to get into some meat and potatoes, man. Let's talk about a little bio on you, where you're born, how you're raised, and how everything started to unfold from there.
Yeah, so born and raised in Los Angeles on the west side, pretty good upper middle class area.
So when you say west side, tell the people, you talking Palos Verdes? You talking?
No, so west side being like West Los Angeles, Santa Monica.
Gotcha.
Was born initially lived in the Pacific Palisades, which is next to Brentwood. It's like where the end of Sunset Boulevard, where Sunset Boulevard dead ends or ends up at PCH. But yeah, I didn't discriminate. You know, we get all over the place. But was born and raised till parents got divorced. I was about 7 when my parents got divorced.
Gotcha.
So did the single parent thing for a while. It was my mother, my younger brother, who was 3 years younger. And so we were a single parent home. Dad was around. He would still come to like baseball games and help. So he was present, just didn't live in the house. However, it did change the whole dynamics of everything. And, you know, being a 7, 8, by the time I was 10 years old, started smoking weed and drinking alcohol because I wanted to hang out want to be part of the cool kids. You know, I never really felt.
Dude.
Yeah, I never really felt like I was never really one of those guys. And so I just I chose to do certain things to be with these guys. And so
I totally get it.
You know, addiction started then, and kind of used the excuse that my parents divorced to start getting into trouble as a kid. So I was going to private schools, but started getting kicked out of all the private schools.
What's that old tat you see in probably state and federal is Mama Tried?
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a couple dudes with that tattoo, and same with my parents, man. I mean, I went to Christian schools, and but I'm also grateful for that. It gave me, you know, the base that I have now in the Lord. But you know, and that's something I acted out, because then I'd go back home, and all my friends that lived on the same streets went to the public schools, and then I was like the one private school kid. But it's the irony is not only I was a private school kid, but I was a bat out of hell. Just the spaz, the troublemaker.
Yeah.
They all played football. I had my little skateboard, but it's all clear now that again, those things are all just the way God orchestrates things. You might not see it then, but once you start, so you start getting loaded young, like a lot of us that end up incarcerated, and then when did it start like getting dark?
Everything went good. I actually didn't get into trouble with the law, didn't go to juvie, didn't get into any trouble. Everything went, I managed to stay out of trouble. Although a lot of my friends were starting to do a lot of gangster stuff,
For sure, LA, no joke, man.
Yeah, LA, absolutely not. And so I started going to public school. So a lot of my buddies were from the inner city. And once you got into, we had our little crews when we were our younger teenage years. But once you started getting to your later teenage years, guys started getting from the neighborhoods, you know what I mean? And started putting in serious work. And, it got real serious real quick. And so actually moved out of California because things were getting pretty wild. Wanted to do something different. I was in Arizona. Everything went pretty good. Stayed out of trouble, but it got real dark when I came back to California. I was working with my brother. He had started a construction company, and we were up in L.A. All started, man. I ran into an ex-girlfriend that I dated briefly in high school. She turned out to be absolutely crazy. I had gotten involved in a relationship with her, and there were signs that I should have walked away from the relationship. I didn't. I've always been the kind of person that will do for others and put myself on the back burner.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, one night she was completely intoxicated, attacked me, and I ended up being the one getting in trouble, the one holding the stick. Yep, which was not having all the experience that we have today in the judicial system. I knew if I had known what I know today, I would have taken it all the way to the box, case dropped.
Right.
But I took a deal like a rookie that I was, and that gave me a record, got me in the system, and it all started pretty much at that point in time. Was getting ready to complete probation. I was almost 30. This happened when I was like 26. Did 8 months, and at 30 years old, had the bright idea. I'd always been like, stay away from meth and heroin. Had the bright idea to start smoking meth at 30 years old.
It's a great idea.
Great idea.
Yep.
And
as a Christian, I was a Methodist.
Yeah.
No, that's a bad joke. Sorry, you guys.
Yeah, it was all bad, man. It was just like, I was a functioning addict, so of course, I've been doing drugs my whole life, so it was like, I was able to always hold down a job and et cetera, et cetera. So was 30 and I was smoking meth and wasn't sleeping, and my father kind of had an idea of something was going on, and work at that point in time was like, hey, you need to go to a rehab or you don't have a job. And I was like, what's the problem? I haven't missed work. Like, I'm never late. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, well, I guess I don't have a job. And so job went, then eventually the place went, and then, I'm just off ripping and running, man. I think I don't know how it ended up, but it was shortly after that I had like a taxi cab that I got from some guy. I had spray painted part of it.
No way.
Yeah, spray painted part of this. So it was like an orange and with black flat spray paint.
Like an actual taxi cab.
Dude, and I'm like driving all over West Los Angeles to like
a yellow?
Yeah, a yellow one, bro. I spray painted Ratchet Cab on the roof.
That's great.
And we were like going around peeling all the stores from everything. We'd go into like Bloomingdale's with backpacks and just load up stuff.
Sounds like what's going on in LA right now.
Yeah, all the stuff that they were. Yeah, I was doing that kind of nonsense, man.
Except back then you'd actually get. Well, I just read right now. Speaking of that, the new Prop 36 is going into effect today.
Oh, really?
Where the smash and grabs and all the crazy stuff that's been going on with not just the defunding police, but you can steal $960 or less and nobody stops you. So they're cracking down, but that's LA too, man.
Yeah, I don't approve or support any of that nonsense today. I'm a completely different person than I was when I was in my addiction. I take responsibility and ownership for everything I did, but I don't support any of that stuff whatsoever. I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement. I'm a huge supporter of our first responders. Anybody I've done work with some people already. And so, yeah, it was silly though, man. And next thing you know,
still funny to talk about. Like I'm not romanticizing or glorifying it, but it's like I said this last podcast. You're either gonna laugh or cry. So eventually the crying finishes. You're like, oh my god,
yeah.
We just walked in that place with a backpack like we deserved all of it.
Right? It was nuts, man.
And a yellow cab that says Ratchet Cab on the side.
Bro, it got so crazy like that. I didn't even know, but like before you knew it, we're doing all sorts of stuff around the neighborhood and just, petty stuff. And sure enough, like one morning, me and my buddy were getting ready to go get a bunch of bikes that we had, a bunch of like high-end bikes, and it was basically when we had found out that we had gotten put on LAPD's Pacific Division's most wanted list.
Dang.
And they actually had a picture of me and my buddy in all the cars, and so at that point, that's when I kind of knew that they were kind of on me, or that they were looking for me. And so it just, I've evaded them a bunch of times on foot, on a bicycle, in a car. I mean, I got away from the ghetto bird on foot one time. They came and knocked on my door. I ended up running out of the house, jumping off a patio in just my boxers, and running down the street in just my boxers, and like got away from them again. And it was complete madness, man.
Yeah.
Complete madness.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly where, if you guys are listening to this and you're out there and you find in your life starting to dabble into some hardcore situations or hardcore drugs or any of those scenarios, it's call and reach out, man, before, like I was told, you're going to mind somebody. And that was back when I was a kid, which if you're not going to mind your parents or your teachers, well, it's going to be the cops.
Yeah.
And eventually they catch up to you.
Yeah.
So I also want to kind of touch base on, if you don't mind, I know you lost your brother and how that all worked. Because I know I got two brothers, and I know that they're 9 and 10 years my elder. I got a sister in there too. They're 8, 9, and 10 years my elder. So there's a big gap between me and my 3 siblings. But my middle brother and I we would run and gun together too. But how did that unfold? What preceded some of that stuff, or was that unrelated?
Yeah. So, Angelo, rest in peace, man, this kid was a bad kid, bro. Like, as a tough kid, son of a gun.
Was he a big dude like you too?
A little bit shorter, but he was bigger.
Yeah.
He was stockier, heavier. He grew up, parents split, and then eventually mom remarried. They went to San Diego. So he spent a lot of time growing up in San Diego. Spent a lot of time around horses. He rode horses. He rode bulls a little bit.
Sick.
Tough, badass kid. I'll tell one thing, man. This kid, I never saw him back down from any situation.
Yeah.
Ever. And that's a rare thing.
Yeah.
Like, no situation.
There was no assessing fear or danger for him.
No, any situation with anybody on the street or anything, he was like, "What's up? Run it."
Yeah.
And so, which can, I think, at the end of the day, was kind of an impactful thing. So we had started construction. He had started a construction company. I helped him grow the company. The company was going good. Me and him kind of butted heads. After I started getting in trouble, he was dating a girl, and I didn't really approve of the relationship. She didn't realize how close we were, because me and him were like really, really close.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 3 years younger. And we were just like, when I came back and we got linked up, we were just, I got some pretty good stories of, we got into it one time. We were staying at La Mirage, which was it's down in San Diego, big apartment complex up on the hill. Used to be called La Mirage. Today it's called something else. It's off Friars Road. But back then, a bunch of like the Charger cheerleaders stayed there. Jenna Jameson had a place there, and they had these big pool parties on the weekend. And I remember one time me and him were there. It was the evening time, and we had our robes on. And I actually had gone back to go get our cooler by some of the jacuzzis. And I'm walking over there. There's a jacuzzi with about probably about 6 or 7 dudes in it, and there's a couple of girls in it. And so I'm just minding my business. I'm walking past, and I guess I caught the female's attention, and so next thing I know, they're like, "Oh yeah, look at this dude in his robe or something like that," saying some other things. And I just kind of looked over. I was like, "Shouldn't you guys be paying more attention to these females?" In the jacuzzi. I was like,
"Yeah, why are you worried about me?"
Oh yeah, I'll see you later, ladies. Bye. And then just like walked off. And so got the cooler and I'm walking back. And as I'm walking away, all of a sudden I catch a smack right in the back of the head, and I was like, "What?" So I like stop, like turn around, and it's this little guy, like got his hands up, and all the guys start getting up out of the jacuzzi, right? I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, that's cool. I'm like, just hold on 1 second, And so I take a couple steps back. I go over and I whistle, and my brother comes running up, and I'm like, man, I was like, this dude just punched me in the back of the head, and he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, really, man. Before I know it, I like look up, and he's gone. I turn around, I just see him like taking off over there, just runs up and takes off on the biggest dude.
Right.
And we go at it with like, 6 or 7 dudes. Next thing you know, they're falling, they're running from us and all sorts of stuff. So, I mean, like, we used to take care of business, but yeah, anyways, long story short, man, we, with the construction company, he had gotten into it with an employee of ours. They had a disagreement. He had told the supervisor to take some time off. And so they had some words exchanged. He knew where we lived. And sure enough, the guy just pulled up one day, got out of the truck, had a gun, and just started unloading a couple barrages of bullets on him. And
did he like knock on the door and he came out of the house?
So he was outside. This was in L.A. It was up off Benedict Canyon. And I think my brother was outside washing a bike that we had. He was washing a Harley, I think. And guy pulled up, and I think my brother was on like some stairs. And guy pulled up, jumped out, let off a barrage, and I think missed with the first barrage. And then my brother hightailed it to the front door, made it to the front door, and then the guy got to the landing, turned, and let off another barrage of bullets. And he took one in the femoral artery, and I think that kind of hunched him over. And then as he was hunched over, he took another one behind the ear.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So either way, he was probably going to bleed out too.
Yeah, they don't know if it was instant or if he bled out.
God bless him.
I was in L.A. County Jail, man, when it happened, which was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, they called me, told me to come outside the next day. It was on a Sunday, told me to come outside, and they were like, you need to contact home. I didn't really know what that meant at that point in time. And sure enough, called, found out, and was just heartbroken, bro. Like, was really tough, really challenging. And
well, especially because it sounds like your brother was doing good. It's not like he was like involved in the lifestyle. He's out there tweaking, running, and gunning, right? He was at home, taking care of business, and some jealous, angry dude decided to go that far.
Ego,
for
bro.
no freaking reason.
It was all ego, man. It kind of takes me back to where it's like, I'd always, said some things where we'd be in some situations, and he'd be with it, and I'm like, dude, you got to be careful, homeboy. Like,
yeah,
some people don't play out here. They're just gonna pull out a gun and shoot your ass.
Yeah,
and so, it's I think ego is a big thing, and you gotta be careful how you treat people. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to work and stuff like that. It's like, you got to treat people a certain type of way. You can't be. People are supporting their families, and if they feel like they're in the wrong and their family and their world is jeopardized, man, that's a serious thing.
Yeah. So when you got that news in the county jail, what kind of trajectory did that send you on? That you got news your brother was murdered?
Man, it was tough, bro. Like, I always stayed like, even though I'd be in my addiction, but when I get locked up, I wouldn't get high. Excuse me. I always stayed clean, just because there was so much stuff going on. You know what I mean? I wasn't, and it just was not a good thing. I had done it before, and it just was not very. Yeah, it was horrible, man.
Actually, I take that back. I've had Pruno, I had, and I was scared. This is my first term, right? I got caught up for an armed robbery and possession of the gun. Blah blah blah. But a dude came in to the county cell, and I was woken up at like 3 a.m. And he's like, hey, it's kind of like a stocky, redheaded dude. And he's like, watch the window. He's like, I got to do something. He sits on and unhoops a bunch of meth that was up his ass. And next thing you know, I'm snorting meth that was up another man's ass. And this is horrible, but I got to laugh about it again. All I could smell the rest of the 2 days was poop because this meth was up a dude's ass.
Yeah, that's how it'll be, too.
And here's the irony. If I wasn't the only one, the funny part is when it's all said and done, obviously this was back in 2002, was of course, you break off everyone, all the shot callers, keep everybody happy that wants to get high. Everyone gets their little piece, their little clavo.
Yeah.
And when they'd crack the doors, they feed you earlier in sin. At 4 a.m. you get breakfast in county jail. I'm sure it's like that in LA County too.
Yep.
But you'd see people like these fake yawns coming out of the area like, shut up, fool. You got some too, man. You've been up all night. Quit that fake ass yawn.
Yeah.
But yeah. So back to the point. I generally stayed away from that was like a one and done for me.
Yeah.
I think I might have had one other hiccup on my second term, but other than that, it's like it's the escape. But then, dude, like you imagine like coming down and then you're just
horrible. Man.
Like I saw dudes kicking heroin in there. I was like, dude, that's brutal. Because I've kicked heroin in the streets, but I didn't have to do it incarcerated.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, imagine. Maybe it puts you in a different frame because you're locked in a box. There is no choice. You're just going to deal with it. Where out here, you could still go chase the dragon again. But yeah, man. So you got the news.
Yeah, I got the news.
You didn't get high, did you?
No, I didn't get high, and I mean, God is so perfect in His plan from day one till the end, and it was like,
yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because like, bro, if I wasn't locked up when that happened.
Yeah, well, I know what you're gonna do.
You know what I mean?
More bodies hit the floor that way.
It's like, dude, like I don't trust myself. If I wasn't locked up when that happened, I don't know what would have happened, man.
For sure. I mean, you come with after my family, my siblings,
bro.
Eye for an eye.
Absolutely, your whole family and your dog and your cat and everybody with you, man.
The whole vengeance is mine, says the Lord, kind of goes out the window.
So it was good because I totally wasn't at a place where like I am today. Like today I have forgiveness. Like I forgive that dude. You know what I mean? And so
now he's probably doing life, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so that's an interesting part of it too, man, is that I didn't get out for a year and a half after that. So it was kind of like, didn't really come to as time goes, things get easier. It doesn't make them okay, but I was able to digest it a little bit, but not very much. It's by the time I got out, it had been a year and a half, and so everybody else had kind of coped with the situation more. Like I missed the funeral, I missed everything, which was another thing. Like I got approved to go, then I got denied. I got approved to go, I got denied. So that was a whole roller coaster of stuff to deal with while I was in there. Ended up getting denied, didn't go, and so got out. Everybody had some kind of not closure, but had digested it more, and so it was still really fresh for me. So I had a real problem with it. Got out. It was the first time I was actually out off of paper, off of probation. Was able to leave LA County and came down here to San Diego, and had.
Now, did you always have ties down here? Being your LA
mother,
boy.
Yeah, so mother. So it was us three growing up. We were a single parent home. Then when we were about 14, when I was 14 she had met a guy who was a professor at UCLA. He had proposed to her and he was getting ready to retire. And so she had kind of asked me my opinion or permission. And so I asked, I was like, does he make you happy? She said, yes. I was like, okay, is this what you want to do? She was like, yes. Okay. I was like, okay, then I support it. And, first thing that was kind of a red flag, man, was, she was like, we're going to get married in Greece. I'm like, okay, cool. When are we going to Greece? And she was like, well, I guess just me and him are going to go. You and your brother aren't going to go. And I was kind of like, that doesn't sound about right.
That's
man.
Not fair.
That doesn't sound good. So anyways, that's a whole nother story. But so they'd moved down to San Diego. They'd moved to Coronado. So they've been in Coronado for the last 30 years. So this was brother was murdered April 12th, 2014. And so I got out July, I think, 2015 or something like that. And So I came to San Diego, had a job kind of set up, was kind of working with a family. That only lasted about a month. And the next thing you know, I'm getting high again. And just started the madness again, started smoking meth again, and started just causing a scene down here in San Diego like I did in LA when I first started using meth. And just craziness ensured again, you know. It was like,
what are some of the bullet points on, you know, again, like just parallel to my story? It's like locked up once, locked up twice, locked up 3 times.
oh man.
So when you were running amok, what'd you get caught up for? How did it all lead up to that?
Man, so like it started when I was 30. Like I mentioned, started smoking meth. I think the first couple of times were, I think they were maybe like a possession or a something. Nothing was really too significant. I'd get in for like, you know, a month or two, get out. They did try and hit me on a commercial burglary that I bailed out for. I was in the garage of an apartment complex.
Gotcha.
I was actually out, fought that for a while, had an attorney, ended up copping to, because it was towards the end, they were like, okay, so here's your, this was funny. I'd been up all night, had a car that wasn't mine, and it was down been up all night, couple of females were in the car. I was like, told them, I was like, hey, I got to go by court real quick, you know, just hang on a second. So I go by LAX court, park the car. I'm like, hey, I'll be back in a minute. Go upstairs, and they're like, oh, you smell like alcohol. What have you been doing? Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. And the judge is like, okay, I had a couple of choices on the table. It was like drug court, which was an 18-month program.
Right.
A residential program, something else, and then he was like, or a year in county. And this was right around Thanksgiving time. So I knew doing time in LA County, if it's nonviolent around the holiday time, you're doing a very low percentage. So I was like, I'll take the year in county. I'll do that. And the judge was pissed that I wasn't trying to get any kind of recovery. And so we had planned to push it out until after the holidays. We thought we would get that. And the judge was like, nope, absolutely not. You want to take the time? You're going right now. I was like, oh, man. So they picked me up, snatched me up right then. And I remember like turning around, yelling to my dad. I was like, hey, go tell those chicks in the convertible down there I'm not coming back down, man.
Not that easy.
No. But so it was everything from like the commercial burglary. It was petty theft. There was a grand theft. Talk about the $960. I was in LA one time and went to a Saks off Fifth, grabbed some nice little Prada shoes that looked like Chuck Taylors. I thought those were cool, and a couple Burberry belts. And I ended up getting in a foot chase with these couple of guys. Ended up getting caught, and it came out to like $970. It was like $20 over the marker. So I got a grand theft for that. But it was consistent from 30 to 36. I was just doing time. I'd be out for a minute. I had gotten drug programs, got kicked out of the drug programs.
Yeah, you were just in the grinder, but you couldn't get clean.
Yeah, 100%.
I think that's the common denominator, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So at 36, I find myself, I had caught a case because I was down here in San Diego at that point in time, and was in the car game a lot. I had like a street with a whole, I don't even know how many cars parked on it. I had like one of those kind of like Crown Royal bags,
yeah,
and it was full of key fobs, just to give you an idea.
Yeah,
and so got in a high speed pursuit in a car that wasn't mine, and ended up getting caught. Thank God, because ended up being that's my clean date, October 5th, 2018, and I'd found myself in a jail cell again. It was the holidays this time of the year, and my brother's birthday was November 5th. And so going with that and in jail again, and I'm like, man, like, what's the deal here, bro? Like, I was going to a church service. This was out at George Bailey, San Diego County Jail.
Oh, yeah.
And, going to a church service, and I just, like, broke down, bro. Like, literally broke down. Like, just had a breakdown. There was a dude there named Paul, and he was a longshoreman from up north, like Seattle or something. And this dude had the Holy Spirit in him, man. He was, like, convicted, bro, just, like, dropping it. And literally broke down in church and was back in my cell and was just kind of building my relationship, just talking to God, man, like he's my homeboy. You know what I mean? That's how I talk to God, like he's my dude. Like that's like what's up, dude? Like, and he's hilarious, bro. He cracks me up all the time. But we were talking to him, man, and I'm just like, what the fuck, man? And I was just like, and it hit me, a light bulb went off. It's like, what's the common denominator to me doing time and all this nonsense? And it's like my addiction. Duh.
Yeah.
You know? And so at that point in time, it was like, okay, like I'm done, man. Like I was looking at GTA, Grand Theft Auto, felony evading, felony resisting, felony. It was like 5 or 6 felony charges on this one case. And, you know, I got priors. And so I remember being on the bus going to court and talking to God. And I'm like, man, dude, if you can give me a program, bro, let's run it, man. I'm all in, dude. Like I'm done, bro. Let's do this. We passed a church. And I was like, okay, I hear you talking, God. I was like, but I need another sign, God. What's up, dude? So we passed the second church. The second church had a black crow on it. And I always see my brother in black crows. We had another buddy that passed before my brother passed. He passed of a heroin overdose. And my brother used to always say, Chad Jennings, shout out, rest in peace, Chad Jennings. He passed, San Diego guy from heroin. And my brother said he used to always see him in these crows. And then when my brother passed, there was like a crow feather on my brother's daughter's car. There's been a lot of go on about that, but
yeah,
there was a crow in the second church, and I was like, all right, God, I hear you talking, man. Let's run it, dude. I'm all in. Didn't have a deal on the table for a program. It was like time upstate, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the judge was like, all right, hey, he's like, you know what? I feel like I want to offer this guy a program. I was like, really?
Right.
I'm like, okay. Like, yes. He's like, would you be interested in taking a program? Boy, would I.
Yeah, after everything else that you thought you were going to, you know, squiggle out on, I'll just take the county lid, and like, no. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, now I'll do the program.
Yeah, now yes, sir, I'll do the program. And like the biggest way that I was successful in my recovery is when I'd seen numerous people in programs and how they were successful. And the key to recovery being successful is jumping full in. Get into the program or whatever it may be, a like-minded community, and just get active, bro. Get in there full 100%. Volunteer for anything. If you got to volunteer I was volunteering to do the landscape. I was volunteering to go move furniture. I was volunteering to help on an estate sale. And it got to the point where it was like they didn't even call and ask for help. They were just like, hey, call Anthony, come on, we're going. Okay, let's go. And that just really helped build me up, and it was going really good, and just on a great trajectory. And we play for 2 teams in this world. Either it comes down to good or evil, man. End of the day, period. When it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And so I'm all like, I'm a soldier, man. Like you gotta take me out, you know. And so like I'm playing for God. I don't play for that other side anymore. And so I knew that the enemy was going to try and hit me. And so what happened was basically I'm at the program, and the U.S. Marshals show up, and they're like, hey, we have a federal indictment for you. Something I had done a few years prior when I was in my addiction. It ended up being a distribution charge. And so I was on the straight and narrow, but take accountability for it. Again, something I did. I take ownership for it. And, that was where I had been for the last 5 years.
Well, they break, yeah, so the feds broke you off with 5?
Yeah, it was a controlled buy. They have a 50-gram minimum for meth and heroin. And so some chick made a buy off me for 2 ounces, just over 50 grams. Some guy I knew vouched for this chick, and I owed him a favor because he had done something for me, and I didn't really want to do it, but I just did it because I owed this guy a favor. And she ended up being all bad, I guess. Didn't know at the time, but
or all good.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. As they say,
but
all bad.
For sure, yeah.
But
well, she was a snitch. She was she wore the turncoat.
Yeah, like you said, all good, man, because it's just all part of God's plan.
You wouldn't be right here with me, brother.
Absolutely. So, I just crushed myself for those 5 years, bro. I just educated myself, got myself in good physical shape, like I mentioned earlier.
Where were you at? Because I know with feds, they can send you out of state.
So I actually, I don't know if I requested, but they gave me the RDAP program, which is a residential drug abuse program, which is a year program. Majority of it's in custody. It's like a 9-month program there. It has its own unit. It's on the yard with everybody else, but only few facilities have that in each region. So within the Western region where I was at, one of the few facilities was Sheridan. So I went to FCI Sheridan, which is a medium security. It's up in Oregon.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I was there with a few people. I was there with Big Meech.
Yeah.
And a couple other people.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover.
Yeah. Actually, a pretty, a dude ran a good program.
Yeah.
Yeah. Quiet guy, not loud mouth, very quiet, reserved.
Well, I mean, regardless of what he was doing right or wrong, he was still successful.
Yeah, I don't condone.
He was pretty calculated.
Yeah, just judging, not judging on what he's doing or whatever. He was a respect. I judge an individual off of my interactions with him. And he was always very respectful to me. We actually ended up having some mutual friends back in L.A. and so we're friends. He was always respectful. He's always, I'm working out all the time. He's always working out all the time. He just ran a good program. Wasn't a loudmouth guy. Was very quiet, very reserved. So
yeah,
respect.
That's cool, man. Yeah. And then were you formatting your next steps at life because you knew it's kind of like this last stint I did in county jail, right? Because I did 2 prison terms and then I got really lucky. I was kicking heroin and I was probably about 22 days into sobriety, and I was 12 of those days was insomnia, just kicking the dope.
Yeah.
Because you don't sleep when you're kicking H.
Yeah.
And I witnessed a guy harassing a young teenage girl, and I just cracked his head open, and it was right in front of an AA meeting that I was on my way to. And basically, they found out who I was. And I'm not justifying just because, a lot like your shirt says euthanized pedophiles, this dude also had a...
yeah, not pit bulls.
Yeah, euthanized pedophiles, not pit bulls. Amen to that.
Yeah.
No, but, not to justify cracking this dude's wig open because he had those priors, through the investigation. But, dude, having 2 terms for violent crimes and gun possession, like, this wasn't looking good for me, dude.
No.
It was looking really bad. And this was another God thing is,
yeah,
this is why this dude is right here. And
Elliot,
I get emotional, but Elliot heard I was working with him at the time, and
oh, wow.
Someone was like, dude, you hear Brandon got caught up again? He's like, what? And right away he called another guy was my defense attorney that
Really?
Elliot had paid for, Ashby Sorensen, love you. Who's also an amazing human too. And next thing I know, I'm in county jail, and few things. This dude that I heard, he would show up to like meet up with the DA drunk, and then would show up and be kind of like causing a nuisance at the DA's office. The judge was like, told the lawyers, like, dude, if this guy didn't have these priors and a strike prior for a gun, he goes, I'd have probably given him like anger management. He's like, best I can do was a county year, or else I was looking at like 10 years flat.
Yeah, you got love, time. Bro.
Tons of love, because it was great bodily injury, yada yada,
GBI,
whatever.
Yeah,
all the enhancements on top of my checkered past.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember telling Ashby, I was like, look, dude, if they give me a county year, dude, I'll do it standing on my head. I can't stand county jail because everyone's a tough guy, and that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Which is the irony too, is I scrapped a lot. I could never stand skinheads, because it's like, you're not going to play basketball with any other race, and you can't eat with them. You can chop it up with them and hang out and watch TV in the day room as long as you're in your seats, and all the politics that go along with, at least California state time. I'm not sure how Fed time is, but I know it's different. But case in point was, I was reading the Bible one day, and this youngster came up to me, and he was an OB skinhead, and he slams the table. Was like, BG, we need to use this table to play pinochle. Like, yeah, no worries, dude. I'm just going to finish up my study real quick. And then he punches the table. He's like, dude, I'm sick and tired of you acting like you're holier than thou, and you're doing all these burpees, because this is like my final time. I was sober at this time when I got locked up.
Yeah.
I'd gone to jail. I'd been bailed out. I'd been given a lawyer. The lawyer got me the best he could give me, which was a county year. But I had to take a second strike. But it is what it is. And I just remember like getting up and basically just fighting all the skinheads.
Took off on them.
Yeah. Now, granted, when I was done, I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where they were like, all right, dude, stop. We don't want the pad to get rushed. I'm like, you guys want to jump me?
Yeah.
Like, you guys, this is all you can do? Like, this is just flesh wounds.
That a boy.
You know, a lot like you, I'd also had some training under my belt too.
Yeah.
So, you know, I could scrap, and not that it's nothing I'm proud of, but you know,
yeah.
a lot of these dudes, all they've ever grown up is like jumping people.
Yeah.
So one-on-one or just tactical aspects of brawling, they had no idea about.
Yeah.
So that was it though, dude. I remember I had like this fangy tooth, and I remember like punctured my lip, and that was like the most painful thing. And I remember this one dude that was kind of like the shot caller for the Skins, O-side guy. After it was all done, I would just like look at him like this, and the Lord's like, Brandon, you protected yourself. You set the tone. Even the Soreños came over. This one Southsider from from National City. He's like, here's another thing: is if you were doing county time, and you had already done state prison time, and I had all the paperwork and everything that realm respects.
Right.
He's like, dude. He's like, you know what, dude? He's like, that was BS, dude. You were minding your business. He's like, we got your back if anything else cracks off. I'm like, no, dude.
Yeah.
I forget his name. One of the nicknames.
Yeah.
But I was like, because then it's like the Southsiders crack off with the skinheads. Why? Because you're protecting me or you're standing up for me. I was like, I just want to go home, dude.
Yeah.
But case in point with like going back and you're finally getting to that point of like, all right, dude, I don't ever want to do this again. I've been in and out and struggling with my addiction so long, and I have a conscious contact. I have a grasp of who my Lord and Savior is, and who my God is. God, I'm done. I don't need to prove anything. I don't want to get jumped anymore.
Yeah.
That's that verse. I've said it a bunch of times. Render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and render to God what is God's. Well, that's just like abiding by the bylaws of life in city and government, and obviously prison politics is what it is.
Right.
But also that's to keep the peace and keep yourself safe. But wake up, Bolt. Nonetheless, when you started, like when you're at your last year, did you already pretty much know that you wanted to go help others and inspire others and train and work out, or?
No, I had no idea. It had been, it had been the plan was to get out, come to San Diego and help with the family's restaurants that they have. My mother and her husband had opened a restaurant back when they first moved to Coronado. And so they're
Spiro's?
Yeah, Spiro's, yeah.
Yeah, shout out Spiro's. You guys check it out. There's I know you guys got the kiosk at Petco Park still.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
And then where's the other restaurants at?
So then there's another one in La Jolla that I think we're looking to sell just because they're getting older, and restaurant business is tough business. So I think the location in La Jolla is not the greatest. So going to sell La Jolla. Then we just opened up a ghost kitchen that's out by SDSU. So if you're out by SDSU, you want some good Mediterranean food that fits in the macros, hit our other page at Spiro's Ghost. And good stuff there, man. Good, Mediterranean food.
Now, has that helped you learn a little bit about prepping food? And because I know it's a pretty good diet too in itself.
Yes, I've always been pretty health conscious. My dad, he was a gym dude. He grew like back in the day. He used to go to Gold's. He was in LA, so he was going to Gold's and Venice. He was there with
original.
Oh yeah, dude. His roommate was the manager at Gold's, and so Lou, Arnold, all those dudes used to come by to the apartment and everything. And whatever, you know what I mean?
That's so badass.
So I grew up pretty health conscious of of everything and working out as well. It's been a part of my life. Of course I got away from it during my addiction. I wasn't going to the gym in my addiction, but plan was to come and help out with the restaurants. And so I actually got a college degree through correspondence college in the Feds. That was part of the work I was doing.
Sick.
And so got out, came on board with the restaurants just to kind of fill in, help out wherever I could. Got into then managing one of the locations, and then got into like operations for it, and then I actually opened up this ghost kitchen. So, but in the midst of all that, I've always really been kind of, when I've doing all the time that I've done, a lot of the times I'd end up being the rep or the shot caller for our people, just because like, you know, I was sober, like I'd been doing time, I knew how to run a program. Like I grew up doing time in LA County Jail, and like you run a program in LA County Jail.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you know, like you learn how to program.
Or you got to go to PC, and I wasn't going to go sit with the child molesters and all the other freaking sickos, you know.
Yeah,
I'm
so
like, all right, I'll run the.
Yeah, so I just, I guess I didn't really realize it actually until just like a couple weeks ago or a month ago that I've been actually leading men for a long time, you know, and like guys, you know, certain people, certain reps will have certain kind of programs, you know, and I was all about like building guys up. Like if something happened, you know, I would definitely be giving guys like a workout break off versus just going and having them beat up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I was more about building guys up versus breaking guys down. You know, guys usually have one kind of direction how they work, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I guess I'd been doing it for a while, and like which was a really cool story is, I was in Orange County Jail. I was waiting to get sentenced for the feds, and I was running the pad there, and I saw this guy who, young, a little bit younger, and just was had a drug addiction problem going on, but I could tell he's a smart guy and had potential. And so I just kind of threw him. I was like, hey, you should read this, dude. And it was in a Living Clean, that Living Clean book. So I saw him reading it, and ended up leaving. You know, I was there for a while, but ended up leaving eventually. And just recently, this guy reaches out to me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, dude," he's like, "What's up, man?" He's like, I've been looking for you." He's like, "I'm sober, man." He's like, "I'm sober." He's like, "I'm part owner of a tattoo shop. I got my dad sober." He was like, "Dude, you were the first person that I saw like sobriety attractive on. Like you were a real dude. You were about your business. You know what I mean? You were about, first time I did any burpees was when you made me do burpees with you." He's like, and so it really, like, we don't know the seeds that we plant, you know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah, I just put it out there, man. And
totally.
It's like, it was cool. So he's on the team now. I talk with this dude all the time. He's in Orange County. So he comes down, we've got it in person and everything. So it's just, it was actually brought to my attention when I had been out for a year, and a guy that I had met, because I didn't have any social life. I just got out, go to the gym, go to work, come home, or I'd do jujitsu, come home. And somebody was like, "Hey, man, like," because I had started to think about like wanting to give back to the community. I wanted to do something, kind of help out with kids, like help share my story. And a buddy of mine that I had just met was like, "Hey, these guys are doing this on social media, the kind of program that you run, bro. Like," he's like, "You should, what's up?" And I'd never been on Instagram before. And so I checked it out, and I just was like, just jumped in. I was like, you know what, man, this is something.
Why not?
Yeah, I was like, this is something I can do. This is what I do. This is like who I am, you know. And at that point, I realized it was God calling me. It was my purpose, man. And so I just jumped right in, bro. Didn't know what I'm doing. I just started sending it, bro.
That's so rad, dude. Yeah, and that was kind of like your aha moment where you're like, okay, I feel that tug in my heart. This isn't about me. This is about what God's built me to be for him. And
Absolutely.
That is through the vehicle of fitness and using your story to enrich others' lives. And maybe they get some good tone and some good strength and some bulk out of it, but also
for sure
they feel enlightened and they feel a sense of freedom.
Dude, so it was crazy. It was just like, you know, it just all kind of hit me one day that, like, you know, I just started getting like crazy feedback from people telling me how like they've, you know, inspired them to use like their CPAP machine that they haven't used in a long time, and they're actually able to sleep. Or it was like, I've had so many people, countless people contact me and say, "Hey, like I've gotten sober because of you. I've got this much clean time now." Or, I mean,
isn't that the best feeling ever?
Dude, it's crazy.
I don't share that
bro.
a lot. I've screenshotted some messages, but it isn't about that. That's some of that stuff I want to keep for me. I don't need to look at me. I'm helping people because I am.
Right.
People know that, and people know that about you. But a lot of the stuff too is just like, that's the most beautiful thing, is to finally see like, all right, God, this is why you brought me through all this.
Yeah.
So that next person has a chance at not only your love and your saving grace, but to feel good about themselves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like it all made sense. Like one day it hit me. I'm like, okay, like I see why I've gone through everything I've gone through. I've gone through a lot. We've only touched on a fraction of the stuff I've gone through in my life. And so like I realized that that's why that's happened. And I'm a firm believer that God gives certain crosses to certain individuals, to individuals that can carry things, So I always tell people too, I'm like, hey, look, because they're going through some stuff. I'm like, hey, look, like he gives us what we can handle. Certain people can't handle certain things, and so like take that as confidence and know like, hey, like this is so I don't know. I've just been super grateful for it. Like it always evaded me for so long why everything was so difficult. But it's like, okay, cool. Like I handled it. Everything's good, and like now I can share that with others. And it's like, bro, the kind of I got a guy that's working with me right now. He hit me up, and he was like getting ready to get on an airplane. He was literally about to have a breakdown. And he was like, man, he's like, I have a great job. I make like a couple $100,000 a year. I have no money in the bank account. He's like, I just did some blow and had some drinks right now before I'm getting on the plane. He's like, I need help, bro. I was like, all right, dude. I was like, call me when you land. We'll get you into the hotel. You know what I mean? And so he called, stayed clean that day, and got him on the program, bro. This was 4 months ago. So today, now he's got like 4 months clean. He's lost this belly that he's got. He's getting jacked. He's like 6-packs about to come in.
Sweet.
And just last night, so he's come and joined us at church. Like I've had a lot of guys on my team start coming to church with me, man, which has been like
huge.
Talk huge, bro. Yeah. Like brought a tear to my eye. Like the other Sunday, I'm sitting there with my wife, like kind of looks at me, and I'm like, man, yeah. And so it's sweet. Yeah, so he sends me a message last night.
I get choked up real easy, dude. So just stop it right there.
Yeah.
As tough as we are convicts and tattoos, most sensitive people I know.
Tell me about it, man. I get it chokes me up all the time. And he sent me something this morning. He had finally got his Bible last night, and then I saw him on his story this morning, like posted because I was telling him like, yeah, just hit Proverbs whatever day it is, like today was the 18th or something, and he was Proverbs 18, and he was in his Bible as well, dude. And it was just like, man, I was like,
yeah,
amen, bro. So
it's huge too, man. Like you said it too. It's good to say you believe, and I know God honors all that, but to get into the actual bone marrow of the word and then applying it to your life, you believe it, and then you have to apply it.
Bro.
But I think the most important thing is doing what we're doing right now. I'm not out there spouting verses at my clients and people that need help. I'm out there just the two things. First commandment is love God with all your heart, mind, soul, strength. Number 2, probably reason why, is love your neighbor as yourself. And who's your neighbor? Everybody.
Yeah.
And when you can do that,
Jesus,
and show unconditional love, and especially people lean into people like you that have a story of loss and pain and constantly going back to returning to that puddle of vomit again, and just going back to incarceration and drug use, and then finally making it out and seeing why you had to go through that, and seeing exactly what you're doing now is why you went through that, so you can do exactly what you're doing. And again, I'll regurgitate this stuff, is I came out of a gutter, but it's also my job to jump back in that gutter and pull others out. And
Amen.
I believe that's the same for you, Anthony.
Amen.
And I'm super proud of you. Much love to Taylor Kavanaugh, who's like, dude, you got to check out my boy, dude. Unchained Fit. Look up Anthony.
Yeah.
And that was, guy, man, we had Taylor on probably like what was that, May maybe? May or June? Maybe it was July. I think it was July. Anyways, but I was so stoked too, and but also watching, like going back when you first started posting and watching your progress all the way till right now, and watching all your numbers blow up, just because you're doing exactly what you feel called to do. And also too, and you can tell these youngsters or people our age, like going into the social media presence, like, dude, keeping that consistent posts.
Yeah.
And staying on top of that also isn't easy. But to get the message out there, that's what you have to do, right? And then eventually the tire gets traction.
Yeah, I think, it was, I'm always like, I've read so many books like on frequency and stuff like that. And, a lot of time people think like the highest vibrating frequency is love, but it's actually authenticity is the highest vibrating frequency. And so I just jumped in, and the biggest thing is just to be yourself. Everybody is out there. And so it's like, whoever you are, just put that out there, and the people that relate, there's going to be people that can relate to that and identify with you being you. So just be you. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing, just be you. And so that's what I just luckily jumped in and just started being me and just started sending it, man. And so I think that's the biggest thing that resonates is being yourself. You got to be consistent.
Yeah.
And don't turn it. You got to just be willing. Don't turn anything down. You got to put yourself out there, man. It's all encompassing. It's like I'm everywhere I'm going, everything I'm doing, people know what it is. They know what I'm doing. And it's like I want to be of service too. That was another huge factor in my mind, is just I wanted to be of service. And so that's just transpired to everything, man. And it's like everywhere.
It's only going to get better.
Yeah,
and also congrats to you and your lovely wife, Priscilla.
Yeah.
You guys got married, what? 4 months ago?
August 31st, we got married. Yeah, so
5 months ago or so.
Yeah, biggest game changer in my life.
That's all in, sober, baby. Chips,
then,
all in.
She's awesome, bro. It's like
a king ain't nothing without a queen,
dude. I'm telling you, man. It's like the biggest. I follow Jocko a lot. I'm a huge supporter of him.
Yeah, I love him too.
Love him, dude. Just solid. That's the path right there. And it's like he was saying, one of his buddies said the most important decision we make in life is who we choose as a partner. And that resonated with me. And I was like, man, I got to make sure I choose the right one. You know what I mean? Because my life has been about toxic relationships.
For sure.
And so I was like, faith is number one. I'm coming up with a list of who I want, characteristics in a spouse. Faith is number one. It's got to be like family, fitness, health, got to be conscious of all that. And then we have to be doing whatever we have on that list as well. We can't just have those expectations and not be doing it. We got to lead by example.
Yeah.
And so God put our paths across, and we're about the same age. We both don't have any kids. We both never been married before. It was just like a real.
Same with my wife and I. It was just all makes sense.
And she's awesome, bro. She's got my back 100%. She supports me in everything I do. She just helps, push and encourage me in everything I do, but also kind of helps protect me because I'm a dog, man. I won't quit. And so it's like, she helps me cause I'll just go.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
that's punk rock.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's a blessing, bro. I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without her.
Yeah. No, amen, brother.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the good women out there, all the wives and fiancés and even solid girlfriends out there that, allow us to pursue our goals and support us. And to all the brothers and sisters out there struggling in addiction, incarceration. Maybe you got a phone and you're locked up, because they do.
Yeah.
And you get to watch some YouTube, man. You can make it out, man. There's a better way. And people love and care about you and pray for you, like Anthony and I. And, Anthony, thank you for making the drive up with you and your wife. And congrats on the new truck. That thing is sick. And just all the success. You deserve it all. It's only going to get better. It's been awesome on my side of the street, watching you just grow and flourish within your nucleus and sphere of influence and what you're doing. I would say in your job, but it's not work, man. It's a blessing.
Yeah.
To touch others' lives.
It's our purpose.
And use, like I said, use that mess and turn it into a message.
I love
it. And you guys, if you guys get a chance, Unchained Fit, Anthony Autry.
Let's go.
He's out there. He's doing God's good work. He's keeping people motivated, inspired, and loved, and changing bodies too, man, making people transform. And we just love you for that, bro. And thank you for coming up here on the Pros and Cons podcast and the final one of the year, baby.
Yeah, brother. Let's go.
Any last words for anybody?
Yeah, man. It's I know if I can do it, if he can do it, if I can do it, man, you can do it too. So just, you got to believe in yourself, man. It's like I think the biggest thing is once I actually made myself a priority. People don't realize when I say making myself a priority is a very selfless thing. I made myself a priority, and I'm capable of doing so much as a man, and that by doing that, I'm able to do more for my family, for my loved ones, and it encourages everybody else to step their game up too. So it's all doable. Focus on the small choices. Just focus on today. What can you do today to be a better person? If that's getting up a little bit earlier, if it's putting the right food in your mouth, if it's exercising, just take control of the tangible things that what you can do on a daily basis. Just today. Don't focus on anything else. Just today. And if you run that for a long time, like I did myself, you'll look up, a few years have gone by, and you're going to be light years ahead of where you were before, man.
Amen. And I like what you said too, man, that authenticity is a little bit higher vibration, if you will, than love. Because why? Who's going to love fake? Because there's no love involved with that. It's fake, right? It's genuine. But authenticity is a beautiful thing because you're wholeheartedly who you are, and I love that you said that. Well, you guys, that's it. Pros and Cons podcast, episode 8.
Let's get it.
Was it December 17th, 2024?
I don't know. 18th.
18th.
Yeah.
Schlang.
Smack.
God bless.
God bless. That's right. Yes.